Okay, I've got another library book and I'm using regular old Notepad to take the notes from the book. And you can find regular old Notepad if you go to All Programs, Accessories, and right there's Notepad. You can right click the icon and you can pin it to your taskbar, you could pin it to your start menu. I have it pinned to my start menu right now. I also am using Notepad++, which is free open source software you can download from the internet to do my actual web page coding on. So if I click on Notepad++, you see that I have a file that opens up called test.html. I keep reusing this file over and over again. Anytime I learn something new about a JavaScript in the book, I just stick it where it needs to go. Sometimes the script goes in script tags in the head, and sometimes the book shows you to put the script in script tags in the body, and some examples actually have some JavaScript in the head and in the body. But anytime I learn something new, I just change the script and I use all the rest of this. I just keep reusing this test.html file and run it in Firefox, Internet Explorer, and Chrome to see how the browser's output show with the code. So with that, I will go into this folder, JavaScript step by step. Well, let me close out of this really quick. This is the folder that's holding my little project. And as you can see over here, you just have a regular folder icon. Here you actually have a picture of the cover of the book that I'm looking at, the library book. How I did that was I took my cell phone and took a picture of the cover of the book. Then I saved it on my computer and I stuck it in a folder, and the initial file was called coverlarge.jpg. So if I right click this and hit open with paint, you'll see the JPEG image file called coverlarge. And this is the book, JavaScript, second edition by Steve Surig, step by step. And it says Microsoft up here at the top. It's a little bit older book, but I want to think it's like, let's see, what's the copyright on it? Where is it? Copyright is 2010. Okay, so this is almost 7 years old. And in the programming coding world, 7 years old is kind of old. You have to learn new stuff all the time. But I still think that this is still a good book, and so I'm still going to go through it from front to back. Take notes on all of it. Can't hurt. Well, anyway, getting back to how I can make a folder icon. I open this image in Paint and I go up here and I hit Save As. Now I want to save it as a MP, a bitmap. Okay, it was a JPEG. I'm going to save it in Paint as a bitmap. For the sake of argument, I'm going to save it on the desktop and I'm going to give it a name of Z. Hit Save. Okay, so now if you look up here at the top, you see z.bmp. Then I'm going to hit the resize button. I want this to be an icon, so it has to be a 50 by 50 icon. I have maintain aspect ratio, and I'm just going to change the horizontal to 50. So because it's maintaining the aspect ratio, this cover is not a perfect square, it's more of a rectangle. So I've got a horizontal of 50, which is your left to right, and a vertical of 66, which is your top to bottom. I'm going to click OK. So there's my smaller image that I need, and I'm going to save it. Okay, so I'm going to go out of this Paint right now, and you have z.bmp. Well, in order to change that to an icon, I have to right click it and I want to rename it. So instead of changing the beginning of it, I'm going to change the end of it. The .bmp is going to be .ico. And then I'm going to click in the screen, and then I get this: if you change a file name extension, the file might become unusable. Sure you want to change it? Click yes. So now I have a z.ico file, just like that. It's the right size and it's the right file extension. But you do have to save it as a BMP first and then go throughout this process. Already in my folder, as you can see, it's already pointing to an ICO file that I've created already. This is inside of the folder. I'm going to right click this and I'm going to delete it. Are you sure you want to move it? Yes, I'm going to move it. So now that file is no longer in this folder. And I'm going to right click here. I'm going to empty the recycle bin. Now as soon as I got rid of that was in the folder, double see it's not in there, the default folder icon appeared. So what I want to do is I want to take this new ICO that I created and slide it in there. And as you can see, it shows up right here. And in order to make it show up as the new folder icon, you have to right click the folder, go to Properties, go to Customize, go to Change Icon, then Browse. Desktop is where my folder is. JavaScript Step by Step is my folder. And there's my z.ico. Double click it, go down here to OK, Apply, OK, and boom, I get my folder icon again. Alright, so we went through that. Now go in here. Let me right click my test.html. I'm going to edit with Notepad because Notepad is what I use to do my actual web page coding. And then I'm going to just double click my JavaScript step-by-step.txt so that opens up in regular Notepad. So here I've got Notepad on the left where I'm actually reading my library book and typing in my code, and then I've got Notepad++ on the right where I'm going to keep reusing this file over and over again just to test my code and see what it looks like in the browser. So I'm actually down to chapter 6, and anytime I get something new, I put it in this HTML code. And like in this particular one, this set of script tags is in the head. So here, from this script tag all the way to this one, we've got this new JavaScript, and it also has script tag in the body. So there's two different scripts, one in the head, and this body goes from here to here. Whoops, from here to there. So this particular script has head and body scripts. I can run this test.html and show you what this particular thing looks like, and then for the heck of it I can copy this entire thing from HTML top to HTML bottom and then cover all this up and just highlight, copy and paste this over top of this and run it. So you'll see two different little aspects of my notes so far. And that's what I'll do in a moment. But let me go to the test.html, which is Notepad+. So I'm going to run, launch in Firefox, and I'll show you this snippet. It's taken a little while to load. Okay, there's my Firefox. I get this, please enter a number between 50 and 100. Let's do something out of the range. Let's do 12. Okay. Then I get this alert box that says that number 12 is not between 50 and 100. Click OK. And we're not in a loop, so it just shows us this paragraph element that says this is an example for chapter 6. So if I want to run it again, I have to hit this refresh button. Please enter a number between 50 and 100. So let's go outside of the range on the big side. So instead of 100, let's go higher than that. Outside of the range again. That number 200 is not between 50 and 100. Click OK. This is an example for chapter 6. Click the refresh button again. Now let's give it what it's telling us. Something between 50 and 100. Let's do 51. Click OK. Okay, so we got no alert box and we just got the paragraph that shows up. This is an example for chapter 6. So this is what Mozilla Firefox browser looks like running this page, test.html. it's running this code. Let's see what it looks like in Internet Explorer. It's the exact same page. We're just going to run it in a different browser. Okay. Internet Explorer wants us to OK running scripts. So we hit Allow Blocked Content, and then we have our prompt up here. Please enter a number between 50 and 100. 49. That number 49 is not between 50 and 100. Click OK. This is an example for Chapter 6. So there's our paragraph element. Click Refresh to run it again. Let's try too high. Let's try 101. Click OK. That number 101 is not between 50 and 100. Click OK. So let's give it, and then this is example for Chapter 6. Paragraph pops up again. Let's run it again. Let's give it what it wants. Let's give it 99. That's in the range. Click OK. OK. So we get no message telling us we did something wrong. We just get this paragraph element that says this is an example Chapter 6. So that was Internet Explorer's rendition of the code. Going back to Notepad++, let's run it in Chrome. That'll be our third browser test. And it'll show up down here in a moment. In a moment. And maybe I gotta click it again. No, it's still thinking. Okay, there we go. Righty. All right. This is why once I get the browsers open, I just like to keep them down here so I don't have to wait on the whole thing to load all over again. Okay, so this page says please enter a number between 50 and 100. Let's lowball it. Let's say 35, which is going to be out of the range. That number 35 is not between 50 and 100. Click OK. Run it. This is an example for Chapter 6. There's a paragraph. Run it again. Please enter a number between 50 and 100. Let's go out of the top range. Let's say 102. OK. That number 102 is not between 50 and 100. Click OK. This example for Chapter 6 is still showing. Refresh it. Let's run it a third time. Let's give it the proper range. Let's say 62. That's in between 50 and 100. Click OK. Okay, so we did not cause any issues about being out of the range. This is an example for Chapter 6. Is the paragraph element that's going to show once we're done with that. So I showed you how Firefox, how Internet Explorer, and how Google Chrome ran this test.html file, web page. So this right here, the script tags and the body, this little part that's highlighted is what caused the page to get the box. So the first line says var input num. We are creating a variable called input num equals prompt. So this is creating our prompt box, and the words or the directions on the prompt box are right there in the paragraph, in the parentheses and double quotes. Please enter a number between 50 and 100. Whatever number you type in that box, that's going to be the value for this variable called input number. Then down here we have an if condition. It's actually a compound condition because it's asking you two different things. It's asking you if the value of input number is less than 50, and this means or the value of input number is greater than 100. So there's our range. If the left-hand side of this or symbol is true, or if the right-hand side is true. If either or both of them are true, then what's in the curly braces will execute, which is an alert box that has the string that number, plus it concatenates the value of input number, input num, whatever was typed in, and then it concatenates this rest of the string. Comma is not between 50 and 100. So if one of these conditions are true, we get this alert box. If, however, we type in the proper range and input number is not less than 50, or input num is not greater than 100, so we are correctly in the range. If neither one of those are true, we will not get the alert box, and it'll go straight down here to the p tag, which is our paragraph element, which has text inside that says this is an example for chapter 6. Now, that was the JavaScript for that particular example. I want to show you the JavaScript for this one. So I'm going to highlight this entire thing. The JavaScript is only the stuff in the script tags. It's this piece here from there to there, and it's this piece up here in the head from there to there. But I want to replace the entire HTML top to HTML bottom. Right click it, copy it, and I just want to cover up this whole thing because some of these, I want to paste it right over top. Some of these examples actually have me do different things in the body. It might have me put in a link, it might have me put in a button. So if I just highlight the whole thing from top to bottom and replace this whole test.html and then save all, then I've covered all my bases. And if this doesn't run properly, then I have to debug it. I have to look through the code and see, well, what might be wrong. And then when I finally correct everything in this test.html so that the browser gives me the output I'm looking for, when I get it correct here, then I will highlight all of this from top to bottom. I'll right click it and I'll copy it, and I'll make sure that it's pasted in here so that my notes will have the correct coding. Because if I make a mistake here in the notes and I run it in the actual web page and fix it, if I don't return the favor by copying and pasting the correct code in here, then my notes are going to be wrong. And the next time I go over this, I might not get my expected result. So anyhow, I've copied the new in this test.html. So let me click on my Firefox. Now remember, this was a totally different example, so I have to hit the refresh button so that it reflects the changes that I made in that page, in that tester page. This particular code is giving me, I don't know how to pronounce these, but Mizar, Ursa Major, Aldebaran, Taurus, Regal, Orion. And that's all it does. It doesn't do anything else. It's just giving me this output. If I click Internet Explorer and I hit refresh, you see the same thing. I get this particular output that the JavaScript code, the new JavaScript code is giving me. I'll do the same thing in Google Chrome, hit refresh, and you see that the changes are being reflected in the output. So let me go to the Notepad++ and slide this over here so that we can look at the code on the left and the out in the browser on the right. So here's our HTML, our head, our title, which says tester page at the top, and our script. Var star equals, and then this is an empty, I want to think this is an empty object. There's nothing in the curly brackets. Then we're using star, and in straight brackets and double quotes we have Polaris, and we have that set equal to new object. So we're creating a bunch of objects here with properties. Then we have star in straight brackets and double quotes, Mizar or Mizar, I don't know how to say it, equals new object. So there's another object. Star Aldebaran equals new object. Star Regal equals new object. So we have 4 objects: Polaris, Mizar, Aldebaran, and Regal. Our output is only showing 3. So further in the code, obviously something's going to happen to delete one of them. Then we have star Polaris dot constellation equals Ursa Minor. So we have created something in the object, maybe a property. The property of the constellation is Ursa Minor. I hope I'm explaining that correctly. Star Miser dot constellation equals Ursa Major. star Aldebaran dot constellation equals Taurus, star Regal dot constellation equals Orion. So that was JavaScript that was put in the head. In the body, there's the keyword delete. We are deleting something. Delete something in parentheses, star, and then in straight brackets and double quotes, Polaris. So sure as heck, we created the Polaris object up here, and we gave it some information about the constellation that it's in, and then down here in the body we deleted it. So that's why we're not seeing it in the output. We're using a for loop for star name and star. Var para equals document.createElement p, that must be to create a paragraph tag. Para.id equals star name. Para.appendChild, in parentheses document.createText node, and another set of parentheses star name plus, and then you've got a string with a colon and a space, plus star name in straight brackets dot constellation. So that's a mouthful. And then lastly we have document.getElements by tag name, and that is body in double quotes. Then we have this index symbol with 0 for the first index or the first element, dot append child, and then in parentheses that par that was created. And so all of that is the JavaScript that is put in the body. We delete that one, and then we do this for loop to spit out the rest of these. So we spit out all these objects with their information about their constellation. Alright, so that probably isn't the greatest way of explaining that, but in this particular chapter it didn't go into great detail about explaining it, but I was able to test it in all three. So if I were to take this delete star Polaris off, let's comment that part out, okay? In the test.html. This is in Notepad++. This test.html is what these browser pages are running. Then I refresh the page. What should happen, since I'm not deleting it, is we should get that information above Mizar Ursa Major. We should see 4 here. And there you go. That's the original 4 that were created. And let's test that in, just basically it's going to be the same. Here's Internet Explorer, refreshing it. So that popped back up. And Google Chrome, let's refresh it. And so, let's see, did I get all of them? No, Firefox I didn't refresh. There. So now all 3 browsers are showing all 4 objects that we created. And if I take the comment off of the delete star Polaris again and save that, and go ahead and refresh these pages again, you do see that the delete action does affect the output yet again. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so I showed a lot in this. Video. Hopefully the video took. I tried a few times, and for some reason the video didn't take. So again, I'm using Notepad, regular old plain old Notepad, to take notes from the book. And I'm using Notepad++ to test the new code in this HTML page, changing it every time I come up with new code, and I'm testing it in 3 different browser windows for the output. And I'll keep on doing this until I get to all 23 chapters of this library book.